Let's talk now about investing for success. Sam Walton said that there will come a time when big opportunities will be presented to you. When they do, you must be in a position to take advantage of them. If you're really serious about getting rich your own way, the time to start doing something about it is now. Financial planning is the tool that you use to get from where you are to the financial independence that you desire. In this lesson, you will learn about various investment strategies and concepts that you must know if you're going to build an estate and retire wealthy. There are 3 legs of the financial planning stool. They are savings, insurance, and investments. Let's begin with savings and insurance. How much do you need? The basic rule with regard to savings is that you should have enough money to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses stored away in some form of liquid investment. A liquid investment is one that you can turn into cash quickly, such as savings accounts, certificates of deposit, or even some mutual funds, which we'll talk about later. In addition, you need sufficient life insurance to protect your loved ones should something happen to you. You need fire insurance, liability insurance, health insurance, and insurance for any possible financial emergency that you could not write a check to cover. Life insurance comes first. You should calculate how much your family would require to maintain their standard of living if you died unexpectedly. You then purchase enough life insurance so that the interest from the life insurance proceeds would be sufficient so that your family would be able to live on it. For example, if your family requires $50,000 per year and the invested proceeds can earn a return of 10% per annum, then you would purchase a $500,000 life insurance policy owned by an irrevocable trust with your family and your spouse as your beneficiaries. In your 20s and 30s, the best value in life insurance is term insurance. Term insurance is issued on an annual basis, and because it has no cash build-up value, it's relatively inexpensive if you're in good health. As you move into your 40s and 50s, you need permanent insurance. Permanent insurance is more expensive, but it has a cash value that builds up, and the policy can never be canceled once issued, as long as you keep up the payments. With permanent insurance, your estate will receive the face value of the policy in full if ever something were to happen to you. You should speak to an insurance agent to become fully aware of what you need and the various options that are available to you. But you must be fully insured in every area as a basic part of your financial life. The 3rd leg of the financial planning stool is investments. The 3 variable factors in any investment are safety, liquidity, and growth. There's always a trade-off among these 3 factors. If the investment has a high degree of safety, such as a government bond, it usually has a low potential for growth. If the investment is highly liquid, such as a savings account, it usually pays a low rate of interest. If the investment has high growth potential, such as an investment in a startup business, it's usually far riskier than a savings account or money market fund, and it's not liquid at all. It's very hard to get your money back quickly. The investments with the greatest potential for safe, long-term upside increase in value are usually non-liquid investments, such as income-producing real estate. This type of investment usually takes a longer time to buy and often a long time to sell. Each person must choose a combination of investments that he or she feels comfortable with, considering the amount of risk involved. This is something you have to decide for yourself. Financial experts often call this your risk quotient. The amount of risk you can and should take changes as you get older and as your financial situation changes. You should invest the way the wealthy invest. Affluent Americans, including self-made millionaires, have most of their money in the following 5 places. Number 1, in their own businesses. Number 2, in income-producing real estate. Number 3, land held for development. And number 4, liquid investments. And number 5, stocks and bonds. Most wealthy people and self-made millionaires achieve their financial success as a result of starting and building their own businesses. For this reason, most of the affluent have their money tied up in their own companies. In addition, most senior executives of the largest corporations have most of their net worth tied up in the stock of the companies that they manage. In a survey conducted in New York recently, a cross-section of business people, professors, journalists, philosophers, and executives were asked what they thought would be the very best place to invest $100,000 that a person had accumulated from his or her business or work. Surprisingly enough, the most frequently chosen answer was, the very best place to invest $100,000 would be back into yourself or your business, getting even better at what you had done to earn that money in the first place. In every consideration of how you deploy your financial resources, your key concerns should be the level of risk and the certainty of return. If you have less than $100,000 to invest, in many cases the very best place for you to invest your money is back into developing your skills, into getting better at what you are already doing. If you have earned the money in your business, the best place to invest it is probably back into the business or industry where you already have high levels of familiarity and expertise. Another major investment vehicle for affluent Americans is real estate. This includes single-family homes for rental, income-producing office buildings, apartment buildings, industrial parks, shopping centers, and other properties that can be rented out to produce a steady income stream. Thousands of Americans have made their fortunes by starting and building their own successful businesses, and then kept their fortunes by carefully and systematically investing in commercial real estate. When you take the time to select commercial real estate carefully, and you purchase it on the right terms, it can be the very best long-term investment. There's probably no area where more myths prevail about wealth and success than in the field of real estate. You will hear people say that 90% of all fortunes in the United States come from real estate. You will hear them say they aren't making any more of it. Many people say that real estate investing is the surest route to financial independence for the average person, that you can buy it with no money out of your own pocket and have your tenants pay it off for you. Each of these assertions is partially true and partially false. The field of real estate is one of the most dynamic and competitive in the country, and the real estate industry includes some of the smartest, sharpest, and most experienced and determined business professionals anywhere. And yet, every year, even in boom markets, these people, the experts, lose millions of dollars as a result of decisions and investments that turn out wrong. One of the great truths of business and of life is that there is no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as easy money. Nowhere in this program will you hear that it's easy to achieve financial success. This is equally, if not doubly true, in real estate. Yet, it is possible to do well in real estate if you approach it as you would any other business. Real estate investing is not something that you dabble in if you want to be successful. You must resolve to get into the field of real estate for the long term, a minimum of 10 years, if you want to build a solid portfolio. Real estate is a form of long-term investing and requires long-term thinking. Let's begin with the definition of real estate in its simplest terms. Here it is. Real estate is its future earning power. This is an extremely important principle to understand. The value of any piece of property is determined by the income that can be generated by that property when it is developed to its highest and best use from this moment in time onward into the future. There are millions of acres of land throughout the United States that will never have any real value, such as desert land that cannot be developed to satisfy specific human needs and produce income. There are vast areas of many large cities where property values are declining because growth and development have come and gone, and will probably not return. For example, Detroit today. Every day, men and women are selling homes and property at less than they paid for them, or are losing them to foreclosure, especially after the subprime mortgage meltdown, because these properties have declined in earning power and therefore in value. If you sincerely desire to enter the real estate field, to purchase property as an owner and investor, there are many ways that you can do it. Perhaps the simplest way of all, and the starting point of many real estate fortunes, is called the buy 'em, fix 'em method. This refers to the strategy of buying properties needing work and fixing them up to increase their value. There are several steps for you to follow in the buy 'em, fix 'em method. Number 1, do your research. Number 2, keep the down payment low. Number 3, move in and renovate. Step 4, sell, rent, or refinance the renovated property. And number 5, repeat the process. Number 6, move up to larger properties after you get experience with smaller properties. First, do your research in advance. Select an area in which you want to purchase a home, and then look at houses in that area until you find one that is underpriced relative to the neighborhood because it is run down and needs a lot of work. Real estate agents call this type of house a handyman's special, and sometimes they advertise it like that in the newspapers. Often they will advertise an older house as a home that needs TLC, which means tender loving care. For you, this type of a house is a sleeper. This means that it is more valuable than it appears to the average person. Second, once you have found a home that is underpriced relative to the neighborhood and has the potential to be fixed up, you purchase the house with the lowest possible cash down payment. Very often the seller will allow you to buy the house with no money down, especially if he or she is eager to move somewhere else and get out from under the mortgage payments. If this is not possible, you can often get the seller to carry back a second mortgage or trust deed on the property for an amount that represents most of his or her equity in the house. Move in and get busy, step 3. Then you take possession of the house, move in, and begin working evenings and weekends to renovate and refurbish the house, doing most of the work yourself. If necessary, you can take courses in carpentry and home construction, buy your own tools, get advice from other people who have experience in home renovations, and gradually learn how to do it yourself. The fourth step is when you have renovated and transformed both the house and the yard so that the property looks good, you can then do one of 3 things. You can sell the house for more than you paid. You can then take the profit from the sale of the house and buy another house to refurbish and renovate. Another possibility is to rent out the house for a monthly payment that more than covers your mortgage payments and gives you extra cash flow in addition. Finally, you can refinance the house, often for as much as you paid for it, based on the new earning power of the property when rented out to a tenant. With a tenant paying you a specific amount each month, you can get a higher appraisal of the property's value. The bank will lend you money, or you can take out a new mortgage on the property based on this appraisal. Once you've done this, you can then repeat this process with another, perhaps larger house, investing your sweat equity or human capital in the renovations until you've fixed it up and are ready to either sell, rent, or refinance once again. Finally, as you increase your assets, your cash flow, and your experience, you can repeat this process on a larger scale as you move up to duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, and eventually apartment buildings. The rules are largely the same, only the size and number of rental units are greater. Many of the great real estate fortunes started off with an individual purchasing a single house and then going to work to fix it up personally. He then sold the house, bought another, and invested his time to renovate that house, and so on. Eventually, he built a real estate empire that included dozens and often hundreds or even thousands of residential units. There are 2 main advantages of this buy 'em, fix 'em method. First of all, you can do it while you keep your full-time job, continuing to generate cash flow from your job for repairs and renovations. Second, you can start small with little or no money, little or no risk, and grow as you gain knowledge and experience. It's important to remember that buying and fixing up homes is just another way of starting a business. If you start small and bootstrap, or grow out of your own efforts, you're much more likely to be successful and you have a very short distance to fall if you make a mistake. It's virtually impossible that you will go broke buying and fixing houses. Now, you've surely heard about the process of buying real estate with no money down. There's no question that it is possible to buy real estate, especially older homes, with no money down. This is a true statement. What it requires is that you find someone who is a motivated seller. This is a person who is eager to sell his or her house and who is therefore willing to carry back a second mortgage or a trust deed on the property without requiring that you pay out any cash. A motivated seller may be created as the result of several factors. Often when a couple is divorcing and they're eager to end the marriage and go their separate ways, they'll be highly motivated to get out of the house and out from under the mortgage payments. They will be angry and impatient and have no desire or interest in waiting a long time to sell the home. They will therefore be willing to sell you the house on terms that are very favorable to you. When a homeowner has died, the family may be eager to sell off the house and get themselves free of the responsibility of regular payments and maintenance. In this situation, if you come along and offer to take over the home, paying them a regular monthly amount in the form of payments on a second mortgage, while making payments on the first mortgage, they will often sign the home over to you for no money down. Sometimes people go bankrupt and are eager to sell their homes and get out from under the monthly payments. Sometimes people are transferred from one part of the country to the other and are eager to put the home behind them. In any case, a motivated seller is one who is willing to accept no money down if he or she can be free of the responsibility of making payments on the first mortgage and maintaining the home. The professionals who teach people how to buy homes with no money down use a rule of thumb called the 100-10-3-1 rule. What this means is that you, as an experienced real estate investor, will have to look at 100 houses before you find 10 houses that can be acquired with little or no down payment. Out of these 10 houses, you will make offers to purchase on 3 of them. Out of the 3 offers, you will receive 1 acceptance and buy 1 home. This works out to 100 to 1. In other words, when you start buying homes with no money down, you'll have to look at 100 homes before you find a single home that it makes sense to purchase. But if you have lots of time and little money, this is a wonderful way for you to get started in the real estate business, and anybody can do it. This is the way it works. Let us say that a house is for sale for $100,000 and that you can get an 80% mortgage on the property. If the seller of the property will carry back a $20,000 second mortgage or a trust deed, you could end up owning the house with no money out of your own pocket. In other words, the bank would provide $80,000 for a first mortgage, the seller would take back $20,000, and you would have a $100,000 house that you owe $100,000 on, but you would not have spent any money out of your own pocket. You would, of course, be required to make the payments on the first and second mortgages, plus the taxes and any other expenses that go along with the ownership of the house. If you could then turn around and rent the house for an amount high enough to cover both mortgage payments, the taxes, and the other expenses, the renter of the house would eventually pay off the cost of the house and you would own it with no money down. Alternatively, as discussed earlier, you could move into the house, make the payments while fixing up the house, and then either resell the house at a profit or rent it out at a high enough rent to cover all the payments and give you a positive cash flow. You might even be able to refinance the house based on the new higher cash flow from your tenant and make a profit in that way. You may encounter one obstacle in this system of buying houses with no money down. If the houses are priced reasonably in a normal housing market, the sellers will not have to accept no money down. There will be a sufficient supply of willing purchasers who will pay them cash for the equity in their homes. This is the way 90% or more of all real estate transactions are done. Keep in mind that if you buy it at no money down, you'll still have to have sufficient income to make the payments on both mortgages, or the seller will have the right to foreclose and take the house back. Also, if you rent the house out to a tenant, you must be absolutely sure that the tenant will pay the rent in a timely fashion, or you'll have to come up with the payments on both mortgages or risk losing the house. There are many pitfalls and dangers in buying homes or property with no money down, and many people have lost their shirts as the result of the mistakes they made. They have been able to get into a house with no money down, but they have not been able to carry the subsequent payments. Even worse, they have rented the house, and the renters damaged the property. The value of the property then declines, and the purchaser ends up owing more than the house is worth. For the rest of your career in real estate, it's important for you to realize that your choice of renters or tenants is the key to your success or failure as an owner of rental real estate, residential or commercial. Renters, unfortunately, do damage to rental property. Sometimes they destroy rental property. When you decide to embark on the voyage of real estate investment, you must be extremely careful in your choice of tenants. You must check their backgrounds carefully, especially their history in previous rental properties. Remember, casualness leads to casualties, especially financial casualties. Let's go on. There are other places for you to invest as well. Affluent Americans also keep their money in certificates of deposit, money market accounts, and other interest-paying liquid investments. Serious money in general is not speculative money. It is careful, conservative money. It is money that has been earned slowly over time and is invested with the aim of wealth preservation. The affluent often purchase good quality stocks and bonds, usually for the long term. Serious investors in the stock market are what are called value investors, like Warren Buffett. They carefully research a stock and then purchase that stock based on the underlying fundamental values. They hold the stock for the long term, ignoring the day-to-day fluctuations of the stock market. Now let's assume that you are sufficiently insured and you have enough savings put aside to cover your expenses for 3 to 6 months. With your foundation solidly in place, you can now look at some of the places where you can invest your money as you accumulate it. There are 3 places besides savings accounts where you can park your savings that will give you high degrees of safety and liquidity: money market accounts, certificates of deposit, and government savings bonds. Money market accounts are available at your bank and pay a higher rate of interest than savings accounts. Money market accounts require a minimum balance. They're also quite competitive, so you should shop around and look at what different banks offer. As soon as your savings account balance exceeds $1,000, move that money into a money market account at a higher rate of interest. Another savings instrument that you might consider is a certificate of deposit, called a CD. These are issued by banks, savings and loans, and other financial institutions for periods of time ranging from 30 days up to 10 years. The longer you lock up your money in a CD, the higher the interest rate you will receive. The weakness with CDs is that if you need your money back before the date of maturity, there are often severe penalties. You should find out what they are before you purchase a CD in the first place. CDs pay higher interest rates than money market accounts and are safe places to put your savings. Nonetheless, they're not as flexible as the third option, which is government savings bonds. Government savings bonds are the most conservative of investments. They are safe and secure, and they pay reasonable rates of interest. They're easily negotiable into cash if you need the money back at any time. They're backed by the full credit of the issuing government, municipal, state, or federal. In other words, you cannot lose money on a government savings bond unless the entire country goes broke. These 3 types of investments are perfect places for you to invest your 3 to 6 months of savings. You'll get the highest return possible with absolute security and safety of principal. There are other investments that people make that have different track records and histories. You should know about them. One of them is precious metals. You can invest in gold, silver, and precious metals, which are often advertised and promoted everywhere. But these are volatile and dangerous instruments, often sold by questionable people as inflation hedges. and they're based on questionable projections regarding their potential increases in value. As a rule, be very careful when considering gold, silver, and precious metals. Some of the smartest people in the world are trading in these metals every year. My advice to you would be to avoid gold, silver, and precious metals completely. If you must invest in a metal like gold, invest less than 10% of your total net worth in gold and take possession of it so that you don't lose it if something happens. Another type of investment consists of antiques. Persian carpets, coins, stamps, and other collectibles such as baseball cards fit into this category. While it is true that this type of investment occasionally goes up in value, it is even truer that investments in these collectibles go down as well and much more often. The people who make the most money trading in these areas are the ones who sell the antiques, Persian carpets, coins, stamps, and baseball cards to others. Unless you're an expert, this is not a place to put your money. Many people invest in oil and gas stocks, mining stocks, and penny stocks. While there are very solid operators in oil, gas, and mining, there are also many questionable stock market hustlers in this type of investment. I personally have lost thousands of dollars being talked into mining investments by very clever and pleasant people. With regard to penny stocks, 80 to 90% of penny stocks never recover to the price at which they are initially sold. They call these churn and burn stocks. They constantly work on the telephones to get people to get in, and then they sell their shares which they bought earlier and abandon the market. They are the greatest waste of investment capital in the country. If someone calls you with a wonderful success story about penny stocks, hang up the phone. Another type of investment that you read about is commodities. Trading in the commodities market is one of the biggest of all gambles. Reputable stock brokerage firms require that you demonstrate to them that you have at least $25,000 to lose before they will accept your investment account. And you can be sure of one thing. If you invest in commodities, you are going to lose your $25,000. Even the most sophisticated commodity traders in the world lose money every single day. Stay away from commodities unless you're willing to make it a full-time life commitment and you have a lot of money with which to learn the field. Your primary rule for investments of all kinds must be, don't lose money. It's better to keep your hard-earned money in an interest-bearing account than it is to lose it on foolish investments. Study after study shows that if you simply leave your money growing in a well-chosen mutual fund and let it compound over the course of your working lifetime, you will be further ahead than with almost any other investment except your own business. The rich are almost always conservative in their dealings with money. They maintain low levels of debt. They handle their money with care, and they continue to look for ways to increase it while minimizing risk. Learn from the wealthy and do what they do. Follow the leaders, not the followers. Remember that the first step to becoming wealthy is to earn the money. The second step is to hold on to it. It's not how much you earn, but how much you keep that counts. So be determined and be careful. Here are 5 ideas that will help you in your goal of achieving financial independence. Number 1, open a special savings account and begin building it up until you have 3 to 6 months of expenses in reserve. This single action will change your personality in a very positive way. Number 2, sit down with an insurance agent and ask his or her advice on the type and amount of insurance you need to protect you from any expected hazard. When you are properly insured, you feel much better about yourself and your life. Number 3, subscribe to and read magazines and newspapers aimed at people who are serious about their financial futures, such as Forbes, Fortune, Business Week, The Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, and Money. Keep current with what is going on with money. Number 4, begin building a cash reserve to use for investment in real estate. Then choose a property that is within driving distance of your home, never one that is far away. And number 5 recommendation is think continually about starting and building a business of your own if you're not already doing it. But by building a financial estate, you are laying the groundwork for getting rich in the months and years ahead.
This